self-awareness. There's a beautiful moment in babies' lives where they look into a mirror and they begin to discover themselves. And they think it's the little friend that lives in the mirror. And then they realize it's a reflection of themselves. It's a magical moment. But we as adults, we forget to keep looking at ourselves in the mirror. And we lose focus of who we are. With youth in our facility, we have to grasp that. We have to realize who we are. We're human. We're fallible but valuable too. What we bring, we have to have control over ourselves when a kid pushes our buttons. Recognize the goal of their misbehavior might just be to get a reaction from us. In the facility where I worked, we had a phrase for this, and people I know that haven't worked there for a decade still use that phrase. It's called, don't pick up the rope. When a youth acts out and calls you a name or does whatever it is they do to get under your skin or to push your buttons, they throw out that tug-of-war rope. And when you respond in an angry way, when you respond in an aggressive way, you pick up the other side. And pretty soon you're engaged in a tug-of-war. And nobody wins the tug-of-war until somebody else falls. The lesson being that even if you're the one left standing, you've lost face in front of the rest of that group of kids because they now know how to push your buttons. They know how to get the focus off of their behavior and onto you. Integrity. I ask you, who am I? Are you the type of person that's going to bend under pressure? Ask yourself, who am I? Or will you be that person doing the right thing, even when the only audience you have are kids detained in a juvenile facility? There used to be a sign hanging in our facility that said, if you don't model what you teach, you're teaching something else. That reminds me of a man named Pierre that I worked with. We had a control center, and I was sitting in the control center one night, and Pierre I saw walking down the hallway toward the timeout rooms with a kid who presumably earned a consequence. The kid was arguing very loudly, and we were all on alert because this is a kid who usually acts out. Pierre was smoothly escorting him to a timeout room. He walked up to that timeout room. He opened the door. He asked the kid to take his shoes off. He shut the door. He locked the door. He turned around. He immediately walked into the control center and said, Kathy, I think I made a mistake. I said, what do you mean, Pierre? The guy's in the timeout room. He did a good job. He's like, no, I think you should have earned a timeout. And I gave him a room consequence. I said, all right. He's like, well, you're my supervisor. Tell me what to do. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I think I need to go and tell him I made a mistake. Great. Easiest person to supervise ever. I watched him. I turned on the audio monitor so I could hear what the interaction was like. It was pure integrity. He walked into the room. He talked to the kid. He said, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Your behavior wasn't appropriate, but I gave you the wrong level of consequence. You were right. And I appreciate you didn't make a bigger deal out of it than you needed to. So thank you. Let's go back to the unit. You can serve your consequence and we can move on. And by the way, you've earned a coupon for handling your anger in an appropriate way. Wow. That's integrity. Because defying expectations. How many times in that kid's life do you think an adult ever apologized? Ever admitted when they were wrong? That kid, as I mentioned, was pretty combative. But from that day on, he would have done anything for Pierre. Relationship, connection.